All right, Daily Telegraph NRL podcast time. Adam Mobbs here with Fatima Kdouh, Russell Jackson here in Holt Street, Surrey Hills, not Las Vegas Boulevard. Disappointing.
Yeah, very disappointing. There was a moment there, especially sort of right before kickoff, where the FOMO really hit in. It had started to creep in towards the match, but yeah, once sort of Allegiant Stadium started to fill, and you can really feel a buzz. I was like, oh, I wish I was there, but instead, Russ and I held down the fort in Holt Street. Yeah,
you would have been especially concerned of not being there, given your Roosters were there and played so well. And can I just, for that, humble brag, 2 from 2 in the tips.
Oh.
Bang, bang. Yeah. Stop the fight.
Yeah. No, well done.
March Premier. You can tell I'm a Paris supporter.
You're the first try scorer as well, I believe.
Tell me, Martin.
Wow. Gamble responsibly.
Yeah.
Oh, you got 2 from 2.
Yes.
I thought you meant Russ got 2 from 2.
No. Himself up.
I got 0 from 2.
It's a shame.
Like
I said, March Premiers.
Yeah.
No, it was fantastic. The footy was great too. Like all the concerns about the skinny field and some of the things we heard about that, just a non-issue. The lanes were there for the wingers.
But fun.
Good
footy. I wasn't watching it going, oh no, the field's not narrow, this is going to be a debacle. I was excited to see it.
Notice, really. Unless sometimes you saw those, players on the edges sort of being quite easily bungled onto the sideline, and then you sort of saw they were right up the seating, and you're like, oh, it is really narrow. But in terms of the football, I'm not sure it really affected it that much. It's not like the kicking games were off, so.
Great attacking intent from every team. They're all set up to attack. It was really good to see.
Tell you what, you couldn't have got 2 better games. Different games, but really, the high-scoring Seagulls-Rabbitohs game, but the talk leading into it was the fullbacks and Tom Trbojevic, solid. Latrell had moments of brilliance. Did throw that great cutout pass for that try on the right-hand side. Did throw that not so great intercept for Jason Saab the other way.
Yeah.
Reece Walsh was electric, but I'm going to give it to you, Russ. James Tedesco, wow.
Yes,
Come
fantastic.
on down.
And we got some great feedback on our player rankings, our 1 to 68, ranking the Vegas players. we had Tedesco at 5 and copped a lot of abuse for that.
Having him as the top ranked.
Apparently he's washed up, he's got nothing. And if you believe his critics, he's to blame for everything bad about New South Wales, including the soaring price of groceries as well. Like he's just been, it's just ridiculous. Like to pin the blame on him for the Blues is just absurd, and he's a champion player, and he was just unbelievable yesterday. Unbelievable. He's so good when he's in that mood.
Good. I think what people missed a little bit with the criticism on Tedesco last year is when they say he wasn't up to scratch, they were actually comparing him to himself. He wasn't up to scratch compared to his own standards, and even that, say he wasn't a 9 every week, he was a 7 every week, which was still probably a lot more than a lot of other fullbacks in the NRL. So, all that chat was really interesting. But he's shown that why he's been one of, if not the best fullback in the game for such a long time. If there's any doubts about whether his time as the New South Wales Blues fullback, I know it's only round 1, and I know there's a few more weeks to go, but at least for now, he's absolutely silenced any of those critics.
Yeah, definitely.
It was, great performance. Look, we'll go to the kickoff of the first game. Obviously, we caught the kickoff. The viewers on Fox Sports 1 over in the US missed it because of the late-running college game. But
basketball, maybe, I think it was.
Yes. But
which, can I say, I think it's a bit of a shame. So I don't know how many people were tuned on on Fox Sports 2, I think it was, before it went back to 1.
Yeah.
But we spent a lot of the promotion and the build-up talking about how tough our sport is, how physical it is. And those opening exchanges in that first game were exactly that. Every time they cut away, there was a player being patched up on the run. And, I hope as many Americans as possible got to see that, because we saw what we'd been promoting in that first 10, 15 minutes of that game. So hopefully, too many people didn't miss out on seeing that.
Yeah, it was ferocious, wasn't it? Jake Trebojevic's tackles and that. Trevor Gilmeister in that first 10 minutes. Was
launching himself out.
Axing people. He's such a great tackler.
They were, Hamoli Olakuatu was terrific, and obviously that moment of individual brilliance where he bumped off Keon Kalamatangi and went over, but he looked a threat all night, that right-hand side. And Russ, you and I were talking about this yesterday with, Richie Kennett scored the first and last tries for Souths, and he'll go down in the history books, but South have got some concerns the next couple of weeks before Jack Whiten gets back to try and shore up that left side a little bit, because they missed a lot of tackles on that left side and Manly made a real beeline for their right side. And Jason, Saab, Hamoli, they looked dangerous down that side.
Oh, yeah. Look, I think South's opposition, they got the Broncos this week, haven't they? Or next week. They will be very excited about getting at some of those edge guys. Cody Walker missed 5 tackles. Was it Kennard 4? And etc. But it was Tass missed 3 or 4. Huge problems there. I think Kennard did really well. He got a double. He tried hard, but they got some massive issues there, South. And they know it. Look, Jack Whiten comes back for round 3, but Campbell Graham's a big one. Like, he's not back for a long time, and stating the obvious, but they're going to miss that guy. His defence, his organisation, and the confidence he gives guys around him as well. It's just non-existent at the moment. So, unfortunately, some tough times there for South on the edges. I don't know if there's anything they can do within their squad. If there's a stopgap, if there's a back rower that can be plonked in the centres, I'm not sure, but they need to do something.
They need to figure it out, don't they? Yep. On the flip side, Fatima, what do you make of Lachlan Ilias? Now, I'm getting a phone call here because there's a certain Phil Rothfield over in Vegas.
I'll bring him in on speaker.
Hold on, I'm just going to put him on speaker 1 second. Buzz, we're filming a podcast right now, and
you're live on air.
You're live on air again.
Oh, okay. Hey, listen, I'll come straight. I think they're about to charge, what's the name?
Okay, we'll come back to you.
Pete's just filed on it.
Thanks, buddy.
Oh, we've got live breaking news.
Of course, what Buzz is referring to is Spencer Leniu is about to be charged by the NRL over that alleged racial slur of Ezra Mam, which put a bit of a... It did. I don't want to underplay it. It was really disappointing on what is been billed for 12 months as a global event for rugby league to show themselves to the world. That was really disappointing for the alleged incident. Obviously, we've got to be careful about defamation and everything. Innocent until proven guilty, but not a great look. No,
it's not a great look. And I was listening to Dave Riccio this morning on the radio, and he sort of put it perfectly. Like, the players have done such a good job, especially the ones over there, to promote this game, and they've done a good job in trying to bring the game to an American audience. So to be let down, if these allegations are true, to be let down by something like that is pretty disappointing. And again, like you said, they're allegations, and we need to be as fair as possible to Spencer in the meantime as we can be. But there's no place for racism in our society. We know that it still happens, and unfortunately people still fall victim to racism in our society. But if there was one space where racism should never happen, it is in the NRL. And it's one of those things. I have no doubt that if it is proven, the allegations are proven, that Peter V'landys and Andrew Abdo will probably go down pretty hard on Spencer Leniu. And there were suggestions this morning that he should be facing anywhere between an 8 to a 12-week ban, and of course that's preempting things. But I would not be surprised that if he is found guilty of the allegations, that he is probably facing a lengthy stint on the sideline.
Yeah, definitely. What I don't like in all this is players climbing into Spencer Leniu and basically accusing him of doing it without him having his day in court. I think that's the important thing here. If he has done it and they can prove that he did it, yes, he deserves a long ban, but nothing's been proven yet. So
I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with coming out and supporting Ezra. You know what I mean? Like, just
the climbing into Spencer and accusing him of being guilty of something where he hasn't actually had. I just don't like that. In general, with anything, I think everybody deserves their opportunity to present their case, no matter what the case is. That's the thing.
Yeah. So just to catch up on things. So in the wake of that alleged incident yesterday in the game, they asked Ezra if he wanted to make an official complaint. He said yes. Then Phil Buzz Rothfield spotted Graham Annesley, the head of football, in the wee hours of the morning in the foyer of Allegiant Stadium, waiting for Andrew Abdo. So they were going to go through all available audio and footage overnight to try and get ahead. Well, not get ahead of it, but get on top of this thing because they obviously know the seriousness of it. In the meantime, Broncos players have confronted Spencer Leniu in the hotel because the NRL had booked the Roosters and the Broncos on the same floor, as Buzz reported the other day, just metres away. And so there was words exchanged there. In the meantime, Peter Bedell, just revelation that a Roosters player has reached out to Ezra Mam to apologise for the alleged incident, which was big. Big move on there. And then now we see that he's been charged, or it will be referred straight to the judiciary.
That's right.
It's, this thing's going to move fast, and I think the NRL's got a little bit of time on its hands because obviously now the Roosters don't play until next weekend to get through on this. But look, and you saw obviously overnight Latrell Mitchell, Katoni Staggs, Cody Walker, guys go out on social media to condemn the alleged actions and throw their support behind Ezra, because broke my heart hearing Jonathan Thurston say that Ezra was in tears in the sheds, and for a guy who brings so much, it shouldn't happen, but this wonderful guy, wonderful ambassador for rugby league, shouldn't have his Las Vegas experience sullied by this.
No, they were terrible scenes. It's but anyway, we'll play out in court. Or kangaroo court, wherever it is.
It will. I mean, I think, again, this will all sort of play out in front of the judiciary. But after the match, or immediately after the match, Spencer was asked about this by our very own Brent Reid, and he did say that it was all fun and games. So whether I'm not going to, you can't imply that is an admission that he did actually say anything. But that's also a problem that we face in society. This idea that casual racism or things in the heat of the moment are somehow maybe more acceptable. And obviously, like you said, man was left in tears. So for him, there was nothing funny about it. It wasn't fun and games. So like you said, I think it'll play out quickly over the next 24, 48 hours. But it's going to be an interesting time for Spencer Leniu.
It did come off as a flippant response. I mean, but I will, whether that was intended or whether the fact that you've just played a really ferocious game, you've come off, maybe you wasn't understanding the gravity of it, but that wasn't a great look. I won't hang him by that, but it was obviously...
No, but that's what I mean. You don't actually know exactly when he says that, what he's referring to. So
that's right.
Yeah, absolutely. But anyway, but back to my question before Buzz so rudely interrupt us with breaking news from Las Vegas.
What was your question? You have to
Lachlan Ilias.
Oh, Lachlan Ilias. Yeah.
Ooh. What are your thoughts?
Oh, obviously he made that great cover tackle on Jason Saab, and efforts like that all about attitude. They call them the 1%ers, and you want to see that, especially from a guy who does really need to have a big season. He made a couple of crucial handling errors. I thought there were times in attack where he got caught a little bit flat foot. I think it didn't help him that Cody Walker sort of went in and out of his shell that game. But I think he had a mixed bag. Like I wouldn't say he was terrible, but if he's trying to send a message that he's the right guy at number 7, he probably, could have been a little bit better. But again, I think in terms of the halves in that game, both him and Cody Walker were definitely outplayed by Daly Cherry-Evans and Luke Brooks.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he is their guy. They talk, if Jack Whiten comes in, they can move him into the halves with Walker to 7, but they don't have the depth in the outside backs. We saw that yesterday.
Not only that, I don't think that combination works at 6 and 7. They're sort of too similar, Walker and Whiten. They're sort of that kind of front foot ball playing halves. So they need an organiser. That's what they're missing. And if by going to Jack Whiten in the halves, that doesn't solve that problem for them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The spine needs to. I think the South spine needs to lift. Generally, I thought
Latrell was probably the best of their spine.
He was the best. He's and that's the problem. I think sometimes Souths just do sit back and let Latrell do everything. And I think Damien Cook in particular, he ran for, I think, ended up revising it to 50 metres last night. But he needs to do a little bit more. Ilias needs to take it on a little bit more too.
All the talk from the players themselves,
and I think Cody Walker was massively underdone. I think he's pretty clear. He's carrying an injury, and he was just as flat as a tack.
But when everyone's talking about how quickly they're rolling downfield on that Allegiant Stadium pitch, that, to your point about Damien Cook, that's where you should be. He's apparently he was a former beach sprinter. I mean, I can't confirm it. I've heard it somewhere in the last decade, but should have been rolling through and pushing those guys.
That's when Cook's at his best. It's when Souths are at their best. It's when Cook's just rocketing out of dummy half and taking the markers on, picking guys out. Just
and they were able to roll forward at times because their forwards actually did a good job on Sunday night. So it's interesting because we spoke about how well the fullbacks played. Latrell's numbers, his run meters were a bit down compared to Tedesco, but all his other attacking stats matched Tedesco. So he is really influential to them. But I think it's unfair that he is expected to do everything from the back. He needs a bit more from Cook and he needs a bit more from Walker.
And I think you see that it tells on Latrell too. Back into games, he gets to a point where it's like, is someone going to help out here? And he just runs out of steam and gets a little bit frustrated. And he's certainly one of the good things that Souths have is Latrell Mitchell. But the rest of the spine needs to aim up.
As a Parramatta fan, I'm never in a position to want to praise Manly by any stretch, but I was so happy for Luke Brooks. He had a cracker. I enjoyed watching him play. I enjoyed this game thoroughly anyway from both sides. But tell you what, geez, Manly have got some dangerous attacking weapons there, don't they?
Just on Brooks, I think what I like the most about his performance is, and because I did the player ratings for this game, Mobsy was giving them ticks and crosses right before we went on air.
Yeah.
But so I was watching him quite closely, and it felt like he was quiet for the first sort of 20 minutes. And I actually, when I think back on how we finished the game, that showed a lot of patience and maturity from him. Like he didn't panic. He didn't feel like he had to go out there and prove, that he can do it. And when he found his way into the game, he was, to me, I reckon, best on ground. And it was just so good to see, that photo that we've got in the paper of him celebrating that try.
Yeah, it's great.
He
showed in that game that he can play footy.
His running
look at
game
the calves on Luke Brooks there. Look at that.
Sharp.
that had almost rival buzz for best calves in Sydney. We'd have to have an over 60s and an under 40s age group, wouldn't we?
But he's got a great running game, Brooks. He's quick and
all based on the calves.
All based on the calves.
Obviously.
That's right. But when he's confident, when he's happy, he runs the ball, and you saw that particularly late in the game. Really good to see.
But everything, Hamoli on one edge, Ben Turbo on the other edge, working off with his brother and Daly orchestrating things. They're if they can stay fit, because
does Schuster go bench? What do you do with him? He's back next week.
Well, look at their bench. Carl Lawton, who gives you that utility value. Corey Waddell, as you said, Fatima, didn't get on until sort of the final quarter of the match. Ethan Bullymore, who's a bit of a different player, obviously, and then Nathan Brown, who
he was good.
He was surprisingly
He was really good. He straightened them up. He plays really straight, Nathan Brown. He really straightened them up. He gave the edges room. He's but his problems are elsewhere, aren't they? Like discipline.
What do you mean, Russ?
We've seen him play good footy. He's a good player.
He's been at both of our clubs
he gets a bit of white line fever and then does something silly. So hopefully Nathan Brown can behave himself, because if he does, he's a very good pickup for them. He did a great job yesterday.
Homolo Olakawatu, was brilliant. I think after he signed that big deal in the pre-season, and it was another one where people thought, oh my God, man, he's splashing all this cash on their back rowers. But, he just showed why they think so highly of him. New South Wales Blue selection, if he keeps going, he's definitely going to be in the frame for that. On Ben Trbojevic, I think he did a pretty good job, I thought, on both sides of the ball, both defensively and he ran some good lines. So it'll be interesting if Schuster is fit for selection in round 2, whether he does come back through Cup, considering, like we saw with Cody Walker, you can be a little bit underdone. And that's probably the worst thing that Anthony Seibold can do to Schuster, is to name him to come back when he is underdone.
Against the Roosters.
Against the Roosters, because he's had multiple injuries, right? It's not just the calf. He's been sick. He's had a finger injury.
It makes a lot of sense. Get him right. Get him fit. Get him humming.
And they've got somebody who can play there in Ben Trbojevic. So if I'm Seibold, I'm probably not rushing Schuster into the side.
That's a very good point. I think yesterday showed that they can afford to bring him back slowly, get it right, because and even looking at Tom Trbojevic was really good, but didn't have that breakout moment, but they didn't need it, did they? They got it elsewhere.
Yeah.
He was solid. His hamstring was fine. Unfortunately, not the same for Jason Saab. You saw him pull up lame very late on.
Which
I hope that's not too bad, but for a sprinter whose hamstrings would be wound tightly, that's
non-contact type thing. So I've put in some calls to see if there's sort of an early update with what is going on there. Seabold didn't sound very hopeful in the post-match. He even said that he is probably doubtful for that Roosters game.
Oh, there's no way he's coming back.
It just didn't look good. You could almost tell on Sabi's face that it wasn't good. He looked quite distressed when he was sort of clutching that right hamstring. So Seabold kind of tossed up a couple of names. Tommy Talau will be in the running, and Ray Vega, another one, sort of a...
Ray, yes.
Yeah, he said Ray almost beat Jackson Polo to the starting spot in round one. So it'll be interesting to see which of those two guys.
Yeah, definitely.
Russ, what's happening with Hank Scorpio? Brad Parker.
Well, Hank might be back. I thought he was going to be... I thought Hank Scorpio was going to be a bench guy this year, bench enforcer coming on in the back row, but I'm not sure what's happened there with Mr. Scorpio.
But they do have a couple options there, as Fatima said. So,
Well, I would like to say about Olakau'atu as well. Great performance and all that, big contract, all that. The big trick now is do it again next week. Do it again next week and the week after.
Remember how we started last season?
Yeah.
And then got close to Origin time, and it just fell off a little bit.
Believed his own hype, I think he said.
Exactly.
We talked about that yesterday.
Yeah, that's right. And he's it looks like he's done the work. He looks really fit, and I hope he can continue it. Maybe not for round 2, but maybe round 3, whoever they're playing.
Selfless from you. Speaking of your boys, I tell you what. I again toot my own horn. I thought they were.
You tipped them?
I tipped them, but then you got the first try, but I thought you were on the back foot for a fair bit of the first 20 minutes. I thought the Broncos had their opportunities there to sort of break through and put some points on the board, but defensively very good, which last year didn't seem to be the case as much. Did you see, by the way, just as a sidebar, did you see Brandon Smith and Sam Walker on the Matty John show on the Allegiant Stadium turf straight after the game?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
What happened? What did they say?
Well, Sammy Walker was there with the microphone first, and then they brought the cheese walk past, and he's obviously one of the adopted John's kids anyway. So Matty got him in, and they were having some fun. They're talking about the way they were playing, their fitness, and Nathan Hindmarsh had a bit of a crack at Brandon, saying, it's nice to see a guy that also carries a little bit of bulk, get a bit of work done, and you seem to be a bit fitter than last year. And Brandon said, mate, after 10 minutes I was stuffed, but I just had to keep going, because he said the intensity of the games, and we saw it, I saw it watching, it looked intense. That first game in the first 10 minutes, and
both of them have played at a pretty big speed. I felt like that second game was over almost way too soon. So, I mean, it was good to see from the Roosters, because I don't know if you know off the top of your head, Russ, but I think that was maybe the first or the second time they've won a round one.
Notorious slow starters,
so they are notorious slow starters, and in reality, it's probably what I know. They had injuries and other issues last year, but that also hurt them, because they sort of found their way towards the end of the season. But so it was actually good to see that they've got things on track early.
They were terrific. And Brandon Smith was very good too. I thought he had a great game.
Joey Manu was brilliant. I wonder, I think Robbo seems to be resigned that he's probably going to, walk away to rugby at the end of the year. But, I think he sort of showed, and again, I know it's only round one, but, he has that ability to create those sort of X-factor individual brilliant moments. And, he's been such a good stalwart for them for such a long time. They're going to miss him if he does walk away.
The guy who I thought had a really good game there was Victor Radley. Radley was incredible. He was so good. And Terrell May as well, I don't think anyone noticed him, or I certainly did, 150-something metres, and he was so good.
Well, Robbo spoke to Matty Johnson after the game about their forward rotation, and he said, look, obviously Lindsay Collins had, 50 minutes straight up before a break, and obviously Spencer, who, wasn't known for having big minutes at Penrith, and he starts, but he said he got Terrell on, and then, you look to play him for 30 minutes, whatever, but you just keep playing him and keep playing because
keeps going. He's got a great engine.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, he matched it with Payne Haas, and the pace that Payne Haas plays at is ridiculous, and Carrigan is just ridiculous. Like he's so fast, those guys, and May's a bit like that. He's got a great engine and he's quick. He does things at pace. He's a very good player. Like he'd be a starting prop in a lot of clubs, and he may well be a starting prop next week.
Well, yeah, because when's Jared back?
He's back next week.
Round 2, so
they hold him back.
So you've got some
calm down, Jared. Calm down.
You've got some options. We've spoken about Teddy. Spoke about Manu. Swaliti, solid. Geez, there was one incident where Reece Walsh made him look a little pedestrian at one stage. But I'll tell you what, Reece Walsh, God, he just gets better and better, doesn't he?
He's just so fast, isn't he? Like everything's just like just a flat foot, whatever. He just explodes. Yeah. He's so quick. Yeah. He's so exciting to watch. And
like a young Russell Jackson.
He's just when he's playing against your team, you just like your heart just skips a beat every time he touches the ball. He's just so electrifying and does so much for that team. But the Roosters did a great job in the end of stopping him from cutting them to pieces. But he's gonna. We talk about that. They're playing South next week. That edge, Reece Walsh.
Yeah.
Look out.
And the way he roams, sort of looking for opportunities, he could tear them apart. In reality, on both edges, because Tass sort of, didn't have the best night out too. There was a couple of costly misses. So.
That's right. That's right.
Would be Brian. Having said that, he was put on report for a shoulder charge, so it's probably going to be a fine for
or something. What
did you make of that, Russ?
I hate it. I hate that rule. I think it's stupid. I think it should go to the bin.
Yeah, I think it is, and I know sometimes there's a bit of leeway for things that happen in the act of like scoring a try, like trying to strip the ball and the rest of it. But I think things like shoulder charge, like particularly dangerous illegal plays like shoulder charge, should be a sin bin, and mostly because when you are the defender in the act of trying to stop a try, you're more desperate. So you're more likely to have that brain explosion and do something that's really going to hurt somebody. So, I don't know, he might get a fine from the match review committee, but I don't think it would have hurt. I would have liked to have seen, a 10-minute sin bin. They're dangerous. They could potentially really hurt people. And you don't have to make contact with the head to hurt somebody with a shoulder charge. That's the other part that people forget.
That's right. Exactly.
Disappointing for me with my super coach after picking Brendan Piakura and
all of us.
Watching him come off, that was you don't want to see that, do you? No. Come out with a head knock. So hopefully he's all right. Even if it's 11-day stare down, he might be back in time if it's
so
depending. But obviously don't want to rush these things. Yeah,
it's another one of those things. I guess they have to wait until he goes through his HIA protocols. So it's a big loss for the Broncos and a big loss for him too, because that edge spot was his, and obviously they moved Pat Carrigan to the edge there, which sort of I think that also screwed up their forwards rotation a little bit. Like Pat Carrigan is a beast at 13, but he's probably he doesn't probably give the Broncos enough out on the edge. So Kevin Walters is going, if Piakura doesn't play, he's going to have to find a solution there, which sort of isn't really clear cut, to be honest. I mean, I'm not sure how much time Fletcher Baker has spent on an edge, but he could potentially be an option as cover. So it'll be interesting to see how they handle Piakura being out of that game, because I don't think they can play Paddy Carrigan.
Well, and we keep saying, you lose Flegler, you lose Keenan Palacia, who David Fifita came out on the weekend. Oh no, Big Tino, came out on the weekend and said, Brisbane, what are you doing? You got rid of a dud. So these young guys, whether Willison's a big middle. They're going to find these edge guys. But what do you make of Dean Mariner's? Obviously, it looks like he's got a lot of pace there. And was that the moustache he was rocking? That was very Magnum PI of him. I thought that was cool.
There was a lot of Magnum PIs in the trial series. Did you notice that? A lot of mullets and mows.
Some good hairdos out there. It's terrific. I was very impressed with Joe Swaliti's bouffant. That was a magnificent head of hair. But Dean Mariner, look, they've just got to stick with him. Like, don't go chopping and changing on Corey Oates is still waiting in the wings, isn't he? It'd be tempting to get him in, but no, back the kid, give him another week, see how he goes.
Remember Oates had those couple of years where he tried to convince Wayne Bennett it was a back rower.
Yeah.
Maybe he needs to shift in on the edge.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah. Well, Oates is an option because he does also provide cover, in the outside back. So, yeah.
Yeah, Cobbo was pretty. Cobbo, I prefer Cobbo as a winger, but than I do as a centre. But again, that's another one that'll take a bit of time.
Yeah.
And he'll get opportunities next week to cut loose. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, we've got a whole rest of round one before these guys play again. But now the task for the teams is to see how they respond, because I think everyone was taken aback through the Fan Fest on the Friday over there, or the Thursday, sorry, because then captains are on Friday game, Saturday at their time, into the reaction from the games, the height and level at which was played, because the guys who have played Origin said it felt like an Origin atmosphere, so an Origin intensity. They've got to get home now, recover. They've got that extra break, but that's going to be really interesting to see how they do that now and see the emotional bounce back factor, because obviously the Broncos have got a lot to prove. South up against it with some injuries. No excuses for your Roosters, mate. You're flying.
No excuses. None of them have got excuses. But the Bronx, I don't know with the Broncos. Like, they've got so much class there, and while Reece Walsh is there bouncing around at the back, they'll be fine. Wouldn't be too worried about them.
But Broncos South Fatima to kick off round 2 on that Thursday night. It's going to be huge, and then obviously Manly and the Roosters, the two informed teams.
Yeah.
So,
all of a sudden that sort of looks like, because both sides were good, so that sort of looks like it could be the game of the round. So,
definitely.
Interesting for the Broncos. Like, obviously the Roosters were the better team, but, on the back of, I don't want to call it a grand final hangover because it's been so long, but, I wonder how much of that is going to sort of hang around, especially early on in the season. But they've got so much strike and so much talent across the park. So I don't think it's only round one. You know what I mean? I don't think you can sort of judge what kind of season they're going to have based on sort of the first performance. But it will be interesting to see, with what the preparations are like for round 2, on top of that sort of emotional roller coaster of it all. They do have like a long haul flight to contend with, so they do have some time to prepare, but it'll be interesting to see whether the players come back and feel like, they hit a bit of a flat spot. Yeah.
Just quickly, what did you make of Dean Ritchie's story with the Sports Minister, Steve Camper, saying he wants to put a Allegiant style transparent plastic roof over a core stadium? Help bring in mega acts, Beyonce, Ed Sheeran, NFL games, or semi-transparent like that. So it's the type of plastic that is, that it's sort of, but built for durability, keep the sun out a little bit and protect the fans and players
apparently
inside.
The weather was atrocious in Las Vegas.
It's knocking caps off people's heads.
Well, that's
somewhere.
Terrifying descriptions. Very strong winds. I think they need to work on family members who went to the Taylor Swift concert on Saturday night, and the train station there is a joke at that stadium. So can we fix the trains and get some more platforms out at the place, because it takes people a very long time to get out of that venue when it's crowded. So before we sort out a roof, let's sort out getting people to and from that ground a little bit better.
I was at the Blink.
But as far as this idea goes, it's a politician, it's hot air. Whatever.
Oh, really?
Put a roof on, okay, great. Yeah, just do it.
Just do it.
Just do it.
All right.
Well, I mean, the point to the bad weather in Vegas was it was completely nullified by the fact that there was a roof. Like, do you know what I mean? You couldn't tell that it was cyclonic outside.
100-kilometre-an-hour winds apparently in the desert, whipped up in the Mojave Desert. I was led to believe. But but I tell you, I went to the Blink 182 concert next door to Tay Tay, so we were and we finished a little earlier than them, so we came out the front and did the Tailgate parties, and we're just sort of listening to her as.
Preferring that concert, were you?
No, not at all. All the small things.
I heard it was pretty good.
But as soon as we heard her finish, we legged it for the trains because it was
Swifties were going.
Oh yeah. I've never seen so much glitter in my entire life. But I tell you what, if they put I kind of like the idea of a roof on it because Yeah, it's geez, you never get the flyovers with the Jets anymore on grand final day. They'd be
Poor old
cactus.
parachuter will,
Yeah.
that's right. Just open up, bang, bounce off the perspex.
Oh dear me. Righto. Well, we better get back to work and chase up what else is going on today because, yeah, we've got to get these palookas back from Vegas and get ready for the
Party's
rest of round
over.
1. The real season starts this weekend.
Yeah. Can't wait.
Righto. Thanks for joining us, guys.
Thank you.
We'll talk
Thank
to you
you.
next time.